Well, we are tracking yet another breaking input coming in from Karnataka, where Karnataka announces complete dilution of norms for religious and linguistic minorities institutions in Karnataka to do away with minimum student numbers tag for minority status. And the government has already decided to do away with the minimum 50% minority students rule for minority institutions to have that tag. Now remember, viewers, previously these institutions needed to have at least 50% minority students to be officially recognized as a minority institution. Now, the government in Karnataka has decided to remove this rule completely. In simple terms, it makes it easier for most schools and colleges run by minorities to be recognized as such, regardless of how many minority students are enrolled in this. But now, to give us a better perspective into the entire situation and what is unfolding on the ground, also joining us on the broadcast is our colleague Sudit. A very good morning, Sudit. Sudit, what has actually prompted the Karnataka government to relax the 50% minority student rule for minority institutions?
Well, right now the government has decided that, last year in March, it was decided that the minority schools had a 25% minority student cap to be recognized as a minority school. That was removed last year. In fact, last year in December, so the higher education institutions had a 50% cap for students to be from the minority community to get that status. That was capped as well. But right now, overall, in a blanket order, the government has said that minority schools, minority institutions in the higher education department, under the technical education department, the skill development, entrepreneurship and livelihood department, and from linguistic minorities as well, institutions under the linguistic minorities will no longer have to have the minimum of 50% minority students to retain the tag. There were talks actually for reducing it to 25%, but now a complete scrap has been announced. Given that there were also concerns raised by the Sikh, Jain, Christian and other communities, the Parsi communities and others, as they didn't have enough of a population to really fill up that 50% quota in their respective minorities institutions. So that is why the government has taken a step in this regard and announced a blanket order. And, however, there's been no withdrawal of change in decision. There's been no change as such for minority institutions as the above departments. With regards to them having 2/3 of the trustees or governing body to be under the respective minorities community, that still remains. But so far for students concerned, there's been a complete blanket order to do away with this 50% cap. So there'll be a complete dilution of norms, keeping in mind some of the concerns some communities have about actually filling that quota.
Right, so thank you so much for breaking it down for us and giving us this perspective. We'll continue to track more updates and as and when we get it. But with the slew of changes and announcements that are going on, Karnataka continues to dominate the headlines, shaping key policies that will impact the state's future. We'll get you more news and updates, but right now we're slipping into a very short break. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.